Hello, my name is Matt and this is Pixel Burn, where I take a look at some of the more important, interesting or even irritating things to have happened in gaming news this week. Except for that whole Nintendo taking a slice of advertising revenue from YouTube Let's Players, because sadly I ran out of time. Do you remember about 3 weeks ago when Call of Duty Advanced House of Warfare cards starring Kevin Spacey got leaked, and how it spoiled the massive build up to the huge grandiose announcement that Activision were going to make for it? How I bet EA had a good old chuckle at that. So the next Battlefield game got leaked this week. Originally called Battlefield Omaha, the name has since been changed to Battlefield Hardline, presumably because most people associate Omaha with the World War II beach landing of the same name, and we all grew sick of World War II games back in 2006. Whereas Battlefield 4 was developed by DICE, however, this one is being made by Visceral Games, best known for the Dead Space franchise. And in another departure from Battlefield 4, rather than a US versus China military conflict, the theme of this new instalment is classic cops and robbers, like you might have played in the playground at school as a kid, only instead of pointing your fingers at someone and yelling bang, you're blowing the shit out of them with rocket-propelled grenades and helicopters instead. As well as
fiction-inspired weapons as well, such as sawed-off shotguns and tasers.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that please?
Fiction-inspired weapons as well, such as sawed-off shotguns and tasers.
Okay, just so I'm 100% sure on this, you're saying sawn-off shotguns and tasers are
fiction-inspired weapons.
Fiction-inspired weapons, right. Okay. Well, that certainly puts a whopping great big bullet hole in my view of reality. I mean, how foolish of me to read a obvious work of fiction such as this BBC News article from April about British police tasering a naked man in custody and believe that a taser was a real weapon. Boy, don't I feel like a silly Billy. Seriously, who wrote this bit of the script? A man from the past? In this thrilling piece of electrodynamic entertainment, you too can relish the exciting interest of pursuing nefarious opium-addled foreign ne'er-do-wells in a bountiful variety of horseless carriages. If these notions fail to stir your feeble senses and rouse your withered loins, you can even violate the very laws of God and nature in a gravity-defying whirly gizmo. All of these experiences and more are available for your slovenly indulgence in Battlefield Hardline. Coming soon to a greengrocer, general store and ironmonger near you. God save the Queen. Aside from the usual team-based multiplayer with vehicles you expect from a Battlefield title, Battlefield Hardline seems to have borrowed more than a few ideas from other games. Among the new game modes on offer are a Counter-Strike style hostage rescue mode, where the cops have to rescue hostages, obviously, and the heist mode, with gameplay elements that look like they come straight out of Payday. Another supposed new mode is Blood Money, which just looks like your Common or Garden King of the Hill mode, except you're fighting over a humongous pile of dosh. One new multiplayer mode that does seem genuinely interesting, however, is Hotwire mode, which is one big car chase between cops and robbers, and also helicopters. As FPS multiplayer modes go, it looks like a nice change of pace, and it's good to see Battlefield's vehicles really take centre stage for once. If multiplayer isn't your cup of tea, however, then the single player campaign might be more to your liking, particularly since Visceral are developing it. Besides featuring a protagonist who isn't fresh off the production line at the brown-haired Caucasian video game hero factory, the storyline is heavily influenced by TV cop dramas, with The Shield being its most obvious inspiration.
That's $9.9 million worth of coke.
What are you, drunk Rain Man?
Come on, let's leave it for the cops. I'm not letting cops take this.
The story is even framed in a way that each level resembles an episode of a TV show, albeit one where you get to sort of control what happens, because this is a video game after all. Visceral are even promising that you can replay levels multiple times in multiple ways, although whether that means branching storylines and other such stuff is still unconfirmed. According to the official site, Battlefield Hardline is due for a proper unveiling at E3 on June the 9th, presumably with a new trailer that doesn't keep calling it Battlefield Omaha. Man, I really want to play Call of Duty 2 now. One game we won't be seeing more of for a while yet is The Evil Within, Resident Evil creator Shinji Mikami's return to the survival horror genre. Bethesda this week announced that the game has been pushed back from its original August 26th release date, and now won't be coming out until October 21st. While this puts it close to a suitably spooky Halloween release date, it also puts it up against Creative Assembly's Alien Isolation, another upcoming AAA horror title and one I'm far more excited about than The Evil Within. I'm going to sound like a grumpy old horror snob granddad here, but I never found the Resident Evil series all that scary. Certainly not in comparison to the Silent Hill series, which is much closer to my own personal taste in subtle, brooding psychological horror than the schlocky over-the-top B-movie theatrics of Resident Evil. Although I did rather like Resident Evil Nemesis, for one big obvious reason.
Stars.
Ah, Nemesis. You made me feel so deliciously vulnerable. Meanwhile, what I've seen so far of The Evil Within has been more hit and miss than a one-eyed man in a knife-throwing contest. I like how the game seems to take an otherwise ordinary person and throws him into an extraordinary situation, even if, in this scene, he kinda looks like he wandered straight off the set of Hard Boiled. I also like how the structure of The Evil Within's world is breaking down, flitting between the seemingly real and unreal in the blink of an eye. And I always appreciate a horror game willing to make players feel vulnerable, forced to hide from or even avoid enemies, instead of simply blowing them into a pulpy red wet mess with an automatic splatter cannon. Conversely, on the negative side, I like my reality meltdowns to have an element of subtlety and the uncanny to them. Covering everything in more corpses than everyone who ever died in the entirety of human history ever, and then drenching them in more rivers of blood than an Enoch Powell speech, isn't scary. Alright, so it might be a bit disconcerting for about 5 minutes, but then it just becomes part of the furniture, like a coffee table or a novelty chair. I'm also not the least bit impressed by stuff seemingly thrown in at random for no other reason than because it's spooky. For example, why is everything covered in barbed wire? Because it's spooky. Why is that dead goat there? It's spooky. Why is that mental patient wearing a reflective mask and gibbering in the corner of an empty storeroom?
Because, young Skywalker, it is spooky.
Compared to Silent Hill 2, in which every monster reflected some part of the protagonist's warped psyche, spoilers, The Evil Within just seems shallow. Oh, whoop-de-doo, a man with a box on his head. Is he like Pyramid Head in Silent Hill 2, a personification of the main character's subconscious desire for punishment, stemming from the psychological tug-of-war between his primal sexual urges and the cold reality of his wife's terminal illness? Even more spoilers there, by the way. Or is he just a bloke with a box on his head because it's spooky? And how about these almost comically mutilated zombie types? You know, my first instinct on seeing these poor unfortunate souls wouldn't be to run screaming in terror. I'd call emergency services to report the dreadful mass industrial accident at the Pointy Sticks Barbed Wire and Nails factory. Oh, and don't get me started on marketing material like this, where so-called real people are filmed playing the game and being all, "Ooh, there was a sudden movement and a loud noise, isn't this scary? Ooh, I want my mummy." And no, I'm not bitter that they left my contribution on the cutting room floor, thank you very much. Although, in hindsight, I can sort of see why they did. Well, this is grossly unhygienic. That'll need stitches. Bet they cost a shitload to install. Don't look very practical. What do we do? Think, man. Think. Oh wait, no, I have all these bombs. Okay, that was quite cool. I could be hopelessly wrong in my snobbery, of course, and in fact I very much want to be. Perhaps Bethesda's marketing department are all just a bunch of dumbasses and The Evil Within will be a top-notch AAA survival horror experience, blending schlocky B-grade blood and guts with creeping psychological dread into a squamous cocktail of delicious terror. I do sincerely hope it is, so let's just say for the moment that I'm mildly interested and leave it at that. On the bright side, however, it can't possibly be worse than Resident Evil 6. And finally, some actual moving picture footage for Project Beast got leaked onto 4chan this week, or was stealthily released onto 4chan as part of a coordinated viral marketing campaign designed to build maximum hype. Delete is applicable. As you can see, it's mostly stuff from those blurry still images that appeared a while back, except this time they're moving, which is always handy in a visual medium like this one. We also get to see a bit of the combat in action, including this snazzy little shotgun, and the awesome effect on this fog gate made up of tortured, writhing souls. No, I'm sorry, I can't carry on like this. Sorry, I'm doing this wrong. Footage like this deserves better than to be just thrown in front of you like a bucket of slop while some tosser like me just talks all over it. So all I've done is I prepared a specially edited version of the footage with my own subtle musical and visual enhancements in order to help better convey the dark, grim majesty of this game to you, the viewer. Enjoy. That's all for this episode of Pixel Burn. If you liked it, please do let me know, and let your friends, family and assorted random miscreants know as well. At the very least, I hope you found it tolerable. And if you didn't like it, well, you can always imagine me wrapped up in barbed wire and nailed to a dead goat on a rock in the middle of nowhere. Because it's spooky! Ooh. You can go now.